this is the first problem here, the first question, whether shamanism can be labeled as a shaman religion, as a religion, or something else.
那么第一个问题我们要问的就是萨满呢是否是能够被作为一个宗教来进行称呼。
So I remember quite well in Beijing when we started to discuss with our Chinese colleagues this problem, because they wanted to, and even they decided to establish small institutions to study Samanzhou.
那么这之前呢，实际上就是我们当时跟在北京的时候，跟一群同事说，建立一个萨满教的一个研究所。
But sooner or later, somehow we realized that it's better to find a neutral term, so we decided Saman Wenhua.
那么在当时我们找一个更中立的词语。
Saman Wenhua.
萨满文化。
Yes, the stress is on the end. Okay, excuse me, my Chinese is not so good. Anyhow, in my research process, during my studying shamanism, I already at the very beginning, I realized that shamanism somehow it's not like a real religion. And I started to use the term system of beliefs or simply belief system.
那么最开始的时候，在我自己研究萨满这个过程里面，一开始我其实就已经意识到，萨满呢它并不是像一个真正的宗教，所以呢我会用信仰体系这样的一个词来称呼。
Why? Because simply when we try to make a definition of shamanism, we realize that not only the belief is the most important part of the whole business, but different kind of practices without which we cannot talk about the shamanic practice, shamanic activities, rituals.
当我们在定义这个萨满的时候啊，我发现其实不仅仅是信念或者信仰呢是比较关键的一个这个部分，同时呢，它里面还包含了很多实践和做法。如果没有这些实践和做法，我们就没有办法理解萨满。
So, and not only you have to believe, and the local people will believe in those rituals, but immediately they have to realize that they are listening some songs, drumming, music, and dancing, ritual movements, etc., etc. Sacrifices.
所以呢，对于这个当地的当地的居民来讲，他们不仅要信仰这样的一个体系，同时他们还要去做一些这个仪式上面的一些活动，包括呢这个舞蹈、音乐、跳舞，然后呢其他一些这个仪式上面这个活动，才能够进行这个萨满。
In many parts of the world, they are acting shamans still, which was news during the 1990s. And when I came to Manchuria, northeast part of China, I realized that fantastic shamanism can be found there. And beautiful ritual costumes, headdresses, wonderful songs, myths, texts, prayers are also involved in those rituals.
那么当时呢，实际上在1990年代的时候，有许多这个活跃的这个萨满。那么我当时去了东北之后，发现啊，在东北那个地方呢，萨满就非常的活跃。不光呢，人们有非常漂亮的这个衣服，同时还有各种各样的发饰，还有歌曲、神话、文本，以及他们的祝祷的这个词，所有的这些元素都非常的重要。
So in that sense, practically, we can say it's very similar to the church. rituals. Catholicism, Christianity, different kind of Christianity, even maybe Buddhism. But somehow my feeling always was that there are striking differences. And the difference is that shamanism can be labeled as a everyday belief or everyday practice. It can be practiced whenever it is important, it is the time. It's not only on Sunday, or not only in the church building, the beautiful, can be a cathedral, of course, but everywhere. So especially when I went to Asia, Siberia, they even told me, a shaman told me, the nature is our temple.
那么就是从那个实践的这个方面来讲呢，实际上萨满呢是跟很多这个教堂里面所实施的这个宗教仪式有非常大的这个相似之处。那比如说像这个天主教、基督教等等。但是呢，在我看来呢，实际上他们还存在一个非常巨大的这个差异。那么我把这个差异呢称之为这个萨满啊，它实际上是我们日常的或者每日都可以进行的这样的一个信念和那个实践。那么只要你有重要的事情，而那个不仅仅是在一些固定的节日，比如说那个周日，或者是那个在这个做礼拜，而且不仅仅是在教堂，在随处到处呢都可以进行这个萨满活动。当我到了那个亚洲其他的地方，比如像那个西伯利亚的时候啊，实际上在西伯利亚，他们呢就有这样的一个观点，他认为呢，大自然就是我们的寺庙。
The translation is a lot more better than my original. Thank you. 谢谢. Anyway, at least I hope, if I understood properly. Okay, so the shaman, my definition is that shaman is I did nothing, but this is the first diapositive. Anyway, my definition is the shaman is a person who can mediate between the world of the spirits or gods, whatever we call it, and mankind, so the human folk, in a special state, the so-called trance or altered state of consciousness. I like to use this word. So when your mind is in a funny state, not an ordinary state. But there is a very important thing. Always this mediation is aimed to something. To heal a person who in need, or a sacrificial ritual for the benefit of the whole community. So a special goal. The shamans always do their rituals for a special reason, because of a special reason.
那么我对这个萨满的一个定义，就是说有这么一个人，他呢可以就是把人和神那个结合起来，他作为这个媒介物，让人和神能够进行沟通。那么他呢在做这个沟通的时候呢，是处在一种迷幻的状态，也就是一种非正常的这个思想意识的状态。然后呢，他有一点非常重要的，就是说他的这种进行沟通作为一个媒介啊，一定是有一个非常重要的目的。那么这个重要的目的可以是多种多样，比如说这个是祈福消灾。然后呢，是可以进行一些那个牺牲方面的这个仪式，然后为自己的共同体求得利益。所以呢，所有的这些那个萨满的这个仪式，它一定是服务于特定的目的。
Of course, we can discuss, is it a religion or just a belief system? But what I want to stress that shamanism is a kind of practice. Which has a kind of aim to help the people, for the benefit of the people. So it's a kind of interesting and keep the balance between in nature and between if we want to make a sacrifice, to kill an animal, then it is a sacrifice for helping people. If we ask something, we have to give back something, the sacrificial ritual, the sacrificed animal, balancing.
那么虽然呢，我们可以把萨满就看成是一种宗教或者是一种信仰体系，但是在我看来，萨满其实最重要的，它是一种实践和做法。那么它的这个目的呢，主要是在于为人类获取一定的利益。那么或者呢是能够在人与自然之间保持一种平衡，比如说像牺牲的仪式，我们可能是为了求得共同体的利益来进行牺牲的仪式。那么在牺牲仪式里面呢，我们必须要贡献或者一定的比如像动物啊，或者是我们的饲养的牲畜。所以呢，在这样的一个过程，就给予与获得之间呢，可以达到一种平衡。
And that is another important, almost theoretical, but also practical and terminological problem here. Let me forgive that up till now I used, and even I shall use during my lecture, shamanism as a term. But I prefer, and I advise you, to use shamanhood. Why? Because my deep conviction is the following. The shamanism as a term was introduced by different scholars, but especially the influential Mircea Eliade. His famous book, Shamanism as an Archaic Technique of Ecstasy, that was the title of his book. But telling the truth, this great scholar of Romanian origin, very good scholar, very good book, he never ever met a single living shaman. So he made a wonderful theory and it was coined as ism, but I don't like most of the isms. I don't want to go into details for different reasons. But whenever I visited some regions, not only in China but in Siberia as well, what I studied, the local variant of shamanic practices and beliefs. So, which has the real meaning for us as anthropologists, it is the local variant of shamanism. So that's my argument to use this term instead of shamanism.
那么首先呢，我们想从术语上面做一个澄清，就是我自己本人呢，对萨满主义这个词并不是特别感冒。因为虽然呢，之前有不同的学者对这个词呢做过定义，比如说里面有一个很著名的一个学者，他呢对萨满主义做过一个定义，但是他自己本人从来就没有碰到过一个就是说活着的这样的一个萨满，所以呢我自己本身对萨满主义是持保留态度的。那么我们如果不用萨满主义的话，我自己会比较倾向于用另外一个词，我把它称为萨满性。叫shamanhood，萨满性。那么萨满性呢，就是我们作为人类学者到了中国以及其他的地方去考察或者做研究的时候啊，就可以发现萨满在各地他们所具有的当地的形式是不一样的。我自己认为，这种萨满性才是我们做课题研究里面的真正意义。
Yes, yes. So it's quite nice to build up a wonderful theory, which Eliade did, sitting in Paris, in the middle of Paris, and wrote a wonderful book. But he just picked up some of the main features of different kinds of shamanism. It's a nice theory, overall theory. Everything can be put it into this big basket. But somehow my feeling was that if a theory is so all-embracing then it is a little bit good for nothing. Is it understandable? So.
那么对于这个安利亚德来讲啊，他是坐在自己巴黎的这个书斋里面，然后通过读不同的文献来写这本书，然后呢，他自己提出了这么一个关于萨满主义的理论出来。当然呢，你可以就是他自己本人呢是研究了不同这个萨满主义，然后把他们一些共同的这个主要特点提炼出来。但是我自己本人呢有一个感受，就是说每一个理论啊，它可能呢在有时候可能是有那么一点点是一无是处的，或者一无用处的。
So anyhow, it seems to be, this is a terminological question, but it is not, it is theoretical question as well, and practical as well. Because whenever I met a Manzu Shama, Hanzu, or Daur, or a Wenkizu, a Wenki, a Wenke, a Wenke, Daur. So all these kind, or a Nashi, or Monguzu, Nachizu, they are completely different. So of course, sooner or later we are going to make some typologies, but it's better to have good descriptions of the local variants, the local culture.
那么，所以呢，实际上我们可以看得到，不仅仅呢只是一个术语方面的问题，同时呢，它还是一个理论问题和一个实践问题。那么，比如说我们在考察其他的这个民族的他们的一些萨满实践里面，像满族啊，像达斡尔、温克、纳西、蒙古族这些等等，我们就可以看得到里面实际上是有非常强烈的地方文化的色彩。
Just a little example. Even the name of a shaman is different. So only in Manchu-Tungusic languages we have the word shama. Of course, nowadays everybody use it. Yes, we have shamans. No, the Nasi has Dongba. The Turkish has Kam. The Mongol you have Bo. So different. So that's why be careful with these overall generalizations.
那么在不同的文化里面，他们对萨满的称呼也不一样。比如说呢，在纳西族呢是称为东巴，然后在突厥族啊，土耳其，他们是称为可汗、
Kam。
那么像蒙古族呢是布。中文有翻译吗？
就博士的博出版，博。
所以呢，这扩话教授在这里提醒我们应当就是对那种整体的这样的做这种归纳或者是一般化保持警惕的态度。
So just for the sake of introduce myself a little bit more than you did, I started in the 1960s when my head of my department published this book, Glaubenwelt and Folklore. Glaubenwelt is a belief world. So he also already then used this idea that probably it's not religion, but a kind of belief system. And then when he died, unfortunately quite early, he was not 60 even, he left behind a big manuscript in English, and I was asked by the publisher and by my director that please make an edition, edit it. And I published Shamanism in Siberia, but I put his name as well, of course. And some 20 years later, I made a collection of his essays in English, and I used again shamanism because it's a well-known, internationally accepted word, word for this whole area of studies. So which bottom I have to page down, page up, or let's continue quickly because we are running out of time. And I should like to remind you that shamanism as a topic became quite popular during the recent years, during the last, let's say, 20 years.